Good evening, I'm Pinky Webb. Tonight we ask the questions, we tackle the issues, we clarify matters, and we get on point. The Philippine government rocked by a widening flood control scandal that has triggered leadership changes and back-to-back probes. Despite these moves, many Filipinos are still outraged, with thousands taking to the streets earlier this week to voice their anger. What more needs to be done to restore public trust, and what will it take to end this cycle of corruption? Let's get on point with political analyst Professor Edmund Tayao. Professor Tayao, welcome to the show. Good to have you. Thank you for your time, sir.
Good to be back and nice to be with you again, Pinky. Good evening to all our viewers.
All right, explosive testimonies, if you will. There were two in today's hearing. First of all, because of the many hearings, at least at the Senate and the House already deciding to end the hearings over there, are you seeing that these hearings in the Senate are helping the public at large in understanding what the problem is, what can be done, and who are the possible guilty individuals?
Very much, Pinky. In fact, many of these revelations have been quite helpful, no? And there have been so many, let me say, revelations that were not expected. And I have to say that there are also expected revelations that didn't get into the open. Well, let me start by saying, when the name of Usec Bernardo was mentioned, you know me, no? I've been in and out of government, and so I've been hearing a little something here and a little something there. But, knowing a little about government, it is important to find out, no, who is responsible for an official's promotion, for example, or appointment to a particular position. And that is interesting, no, particularly if a government official is involved, no, to a very tricky situation, no, such as this. So hindi lumabas yun kanina eh. And it would seem also that and I still maintain that it's very helpful, not only with the revelations, but also, let's say, some revelations that would require interpretation or would require one to really analyze and put two and two things together.
Okay.
And it seems that there is a script that is being followed, no? Something that will really have to dig deeper, and hopefully something that can be discovered by ICI.
Let's dissect the testimony first of Usec Bernardo, as you mentioned a while ago. At least now we have a face to the name. His name has been mentioned in the past over and over again. His revelations with regards to Senator Cheese Escudero, Usec Bernardo basically was saying that he and Senator Cheese and another individual now that has come up, Maynard Ngu, are supposedly friends. To which Usec Bernardo was saying that Ngu had asked him, Usec Bernardo, to submit a list of projects, including those in Valenzuela and Marinduque, which were later included in the Appropriations Act. So, and then he went on to say that when he gave that list in relation to the commitment, ang sabi daw niya, boss, paano ba ito? Sabi po nung Maynard, allegedly, bahala ka na. And then he asked, boss, okay na ba ang 20%? Sabi daw nung Maynard, okay. And then he went on to say that the inclusion, basically, he delivered 20% of sorry, no, pasensya na po, nawawala yung override ko. All right. He delivered about 20% of about 800 million, which equals to 160 million to Maynard. So, ang tanong po doon, which was meant for Senator Escudero. I had to read all that just so for those who might not have followed the hearing earlier to be able to understand why Senator Cheese's name came up here. Does that link to you? Does that already link the senator to this kickbacks?
That's a very good question, Pinky. You know, this has always been, was this an MO or a modus operandi. In other words, it's a familiar formula over and over again. There's no direct contact. There's no direct handing off of the supposed kickbacks. No, and if you remember, no, Senator Jinggoy Estrada is precisely saying the same thing over and over again that you know he didn't meet this guy, and even the witness, former DE Alcantara, mentioned that there was never a meeting with Senator Jinggoy, for example, uh, uh, apart from the time when he was invited during a birthday party. So, in other words, we're very dependent on the personal testimonies of what's this resource persons and eventually witnesses, and this is the familiar refrain, no, in all high profile cases we've seen, no, including as far as criminal cases like massacres, for example, when suddenly witnesses, no, vanish out of thin air, no, and and therefore renders the whole case uh, inutile. Huh? So yeah, based on the testimony, it would seem that yeah, the senator is involved because that's what the witness
That's
say.
what Usec Bernardo is saying.
That's right. So in other words, kaya nga kanina tinatanong din doon sa hearing, wala ba man lang kayong pirmahan kung natanggap ito, kung magkano at sino yung tumanggap. At ang sagot lang ay nagpapapicture. Kasi nga, the way they do it is that ang nagko-communicate when it comes to delivery is, well, simply the people who are asked to make the delivery.
Yeah.
The drivers and the contact person. But
Because
principals are never in that picture. So, yun yung problematic part doon palagi. So again, based on the testimony involved, ito si Senator so and so, but
Yeah.
it has to be proven really.
okay, important you said that. So if we were to believe Usec Bernardo's testimony, it appears that Senator Cheese is involved.
Yeah.
The reason I'm bringing it up, Professor, is this. He says Senator Cheese is involved, but through an intermediary. Hindi ho ba?
Exactly.
Itong
Exactly.
Maynard.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So,
So siguro
go ahead, sir.
papatawag niyan si papatawag din Maynard Ngo, no? So and again, it's another witness. So but the difference is it's a corroborating witness this time. But again, the question is whether there can be other evidences that can be presented, more concrete evidences other than testimonies, no,
Yes.
from witnesses.
But then that's where I wanted to go. What kind of evidence are we set? What kind of evidence can we expect? Knowing that there was a PDAF scandal 10, 11, 12 years ago in Dihuba, that everyone, any politician for that matter, should have learned from and been careful about that, right? So ibig lang sabihin nun, I don't think anyone, supposed to be sir ha, would be careless enough, di ho ba, na pumirma, magpa-picture or any of that kind of situation. Because here's where I'm going to take the conversation to again Usec Bernardo's testimony on former Senator Bong Revilla. Ito ho kasi merong medyo iba. Ang sabi niya kasi dito, he personally met with Senator Bong Revilla in 2024 and asked for a commitment. Tapos para daw intended para sa kanyang senatorial bid sa susunod na taon. And he goes on to say that he, Usec Bernardo, actually delivered 150 million to Revilla's house in Cavite. Ito medyo talagang direct testimony na po ito.
Direct yan. Oo. So, again, that particular event or that particular moment that there was a delivery in person, no, should be corroborated, no? And also there has to be I don't know, an indication really that it actually transpired. And I'm sure, of course, that whether picture or was this a record of the travel going to that particular area, that would be that might be useful. No, it's probably best to invite a criminal lawyer in that regard. Now, uh, this is related to your previous question before you got to Bong Revilla, precisely because, as we have noted at the outset, this is a patented formula. No, so there's no direct engagement. There's no direct link. No, unless of course uh, you got so excited with with
Careless,
the partnership,
blatant, yeah.
including inviting your criminal partner to an event or whatever, kahit na walang palitan ng pera doon, whether you like it or not, it's an indication that you actually know each other. I think one documentary evidence that they're wanting to find out, and this has something to do with the invitation of former Senator Grace Poe, is to pinpoint who inserted what, no? And also this is the reason why magkano ba 'yun? Parang 355 million ba yung lumabas doon sa isang testimony, and
355. You're right, sir.
350, and then hinanap ni Senator Ping Lacson doon sa Gaayon 355 and nagmatch. At pati yung project that was shared in the hearing actually matched also,
Yeah.
as far as budget is concerned. So yun, klaro yun, no? So
Parang
sa
pwede
madaling
mong ipagtagpi-tagpi yung mga yon dahil Bryce
oo,
Hernandez originally said that. For
right.
premise again, di ba, that may binagsak na 355 million allegedly si Senator Jinggoy Estrada doon po
That's
sa
right.
Bulacan. And then when Senator
That's
Ping
right.
checked, wala sa GAA, wala sa HGAB, pero sa end ng bill, nakita niya. So either nandun yun sa BICAM or sa
Exactly.
Senate version. Okay.
That's right. Pati yung palitan, kung napansin niyo, no, palaging pinapakita yung mga convo, I mean the exchange of
Yeah.
messages, no, and even calls, so that it's demonstrated, no, how the transaction actually happens and how they communicate with each other.
Usec Bernardo also mentioned a name that I would say was a surprise to a lot of people because the name was not mentioned in the past, and that is former Senator Nancy Bina. We're going to talk about that revelation of Usec Bernardo. After the break, we'll continue our discussion with Professor Edmund Tayao when we return. Stay tuned. This is On Point. Welcome back to On Point. Still with us, political analyst Professor Edmund Tayao. Let's talk about the revelation on former Senator, now Mayor Nancy Binay. Ang sabi po ni Usec Bernardo, yung meron pong aid allegedly si former Senator Nancy Binay na humingi daw ng commitment, and he said he delivered about, 37 million pesos to
37 million.
37 million pesos to the Binay House in Quezon City. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, that's to my mind, no, it's as good as a direct engagement, Pinky, kasi that's an aid, and that aid should be identified, no, from within the official official team of the former senator na Makati City Mayor, unless of course that aid is not in any way listed, no, in the in the official list, no, of those
Employed.
working then yes, right, with then Senator Nancy Binay. So
But
yun.
Professor, now that you said that's an easy check, hindi ho ba, to check on the employees? At ang dali ding magtanong na baka may kakilala ka, nakilala si so-and-so na ito yung empleyado. What I'm trying to say is, would you agree that it would also be easy to name anyone and use an aide or an employee, because hindi naman po mahirap maghanap ng aide o ng empleyado ng isang tao?
Alam mo, yan ang isa sa mga importanteng consideration, Pinky, kasi it also depends where exactly you're at or what position exactly you are. Kasi the higher you go up the food chain, the more indirect your involvement is. And the more indirect your involvement is, either you're really involved but you are safe, and you made sure that you are safe, or that your name has been often, actually not often, always used, no, to push for transactions. Kasi alam mo, dito sa atin ang dali-dali magsabi, oh, may picture kami ni Pinky, close kami, no?
Right.
So ganun eh. Kaya nga there has to be something more than a testimony.
The senators that have been mentioned so far, Senator Jinggoy Estrada, Joel Villanueva, Senator Chis Escudero, former Senator Bong Revilla, and former Senator Nancy Binay. Some of those implicated are already saying, and even a current senator is saying that parang nililihis yung issue na ito at nagmumukhang or dinadamage yung Senado. When in fact, from the very beginning, at least hindi naman from in the beginning, ang talagang itinuturo ay supposed to be mga congressman. Are you seeing a possible shift? Could it be intentional to point an accusing finger to senators and kind of forget what was initially said during the House hearing, that during the Senate hearing, that there were a number of congressmen involved?
You know, in the first place, if there's truth to that, the next question that we have to ask is, congressmen lang ba or members lang ba ng House of Representatives ang involved sa budgeting? Sila lang ba ang involved sa identification and facilitating projects? And if the answer is yes, then by all means, of course, that means the investigation is just directed at the members of the House of Representatives and supposedly hindi involved ang Senado. But you and I know, and the whole, everyone, the public knows that there is such thing as a third chamber or a bicameral conference committee. And much of what happens actually is in the BICAM. Not to mention, of course, that after a proposed budget, no, the budget for the next fiscal year, no, is done with and submitted by the House of Representatives. It's the Senate, no, that is expected to finish its own hearing of the budget and the weighing of how much should be approved and how much can be shaved from one agency to another. So involved yan sila pareho. Pangalawa, Pinky, siguro kaya nila sinasabi yan kasi whether we like it or not, bago pa lumabas itong flood control issue, target na talaga nila si former Speaker Romualdez eh. Nagsimula doon pa lang sa pagta-target sa kanya as quote-unquote tambaloslos. Doon pa lang, alam mo na kagad na target na siya. I'm not saying that he's not involved. I wouldn't be able to say that he is involved or he's not involved in the first place. But for one to say that the intent is simply to indict the House of Representatives and have them accountable is to suggest that the Senate doesn't have anything to do whatsoever at all when it comes to budget and when it comes to identification of projects.
Fair enough.
Which is
Yeah.
wrong.
Because it's two houses of Congress.
Exactly.
Yeah. The power of the purse. All right, we need to take a very short break, and because you already mentioned Speaker Martin Romualdez, his name was already mentioned also in today's hearing, and again, together with Congressman Zaldico, we'll be talking about that. After the break, we'll be right back. You're still on point, and we're still joined by political analyst Professor Edmund Tayao. So bibilisan ko po ito kasi meron din po kay Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin. Siguro I'll also discuss this very briefly. This Usec Olivar of DepEd, supposed to be who used to work for Senator Bong Revilla, the late Senator Edgardo Angara, I believe, and now Secretary Sani Angara. Na-mention lang po sila dahil dating nagtatrabaho sa kanila. Just to be clear about that. Siya din po, itong Usec, supposed to be, demanded kickbacks in infrastructure naman supposedly for the office of the executive secretary at meron din pong hininging porsyento dito. This is a little bit mind-boggling for me because humingi ng listahan sa unprogrammed appropriations para sa office of the executive secretary. Do you see any connection here that I might be missing, sir?
Anything that is unprogrammed is where you find much of the indiscretions that have been identified. No? Kasi doon sa unprogrammed funds, nagkakaroon ng leeway. Kahit na sino may leeway, no, when it comes to the unprogrammed funds. No? And so, in fact, it's not the first time that an office at the executive department will be mentioned. If you remember, there was a former undersecretary who eventually became a member of the House of Representatives. No, I think it's Congresswoman Mitch Kahayon Uy, who was a former undersecretary, which was also mentioned in one of the hearings. So it's not impossible. Not in the same vein that an undersecretary from the DPWH and even a COA commissioner was mentioned, no, or were mentioned, no, in the course of the hearings. So in other words, this is not unusual. And again, if I may emphasize, and I've been insisting that this is systemic. Kaya nga babalik at babalik tayo doon sa argumento na ang sinasabi nila resign.
Opo.
Alam mo, nakakadalawang beses na tayo ng resign na yan. Kung may nangyari doon sa dalawang beses, no, dalawang EDSA na nagtanggal tayo ng nakaupong Pangulo, na legitimate na Pangulo, no? Meron na dapat pagbabago ngayon. Hindi na tayo dapat nag-uusap ngayon ng ganito at hindi na tayo dapat naiinis pag nababaha tayo. Ako nga nagkasiponat lahat dahil dito sa mga bahang-baha dito. So, sa madalit sabi, no, hindi solusyon yung pagpapalit. And mind you, if we are going to go by was this extrapolate, no, incidents and track records and so on and so forth. But my ultimate question is, sigurado ba kayo na pagka pinalitan ng isang vice president ang nakaupong pangulo, mababago? Hindi matutuloy kaya itong mga investigasyon na to? Kasi sa totoo lang, lahat itong mga iskandalong ito, hindi naman ito limitado dito sa 2022. Maraming nangyari nung nakaraan pa.
All right.
No?
And that's going to be a very long discussion. Professor, I just want to go back to what I was talking about prior to the break, which we should discuss. This testimony of Sergeant Gutesa, basically he's saying that money was brought from the house of Zaldico, let it be Valle Verde or Horizon in BGC, to the house of Speaker Martin Romualdez. The money, ang tawag nga po nila ay supposed to be basura. What did you think of his testimony?
Well, for one, I'm not sure how he made the connection, no, to the ongoing investigation on infrastructure. Now, whether it has something to do with infrastructure or not is something that has to be established. Second of all, he's supposedly acting for and in behalf of Congressman Saldico. So that revelation would suggest that indeed there is involvement on the part of Congressman Saldico. If, again, it's proven and it's insisted that the money that was supposedly delivered came from Saldico, and that money came from supposedly what was generated out of involvement in these projects. So sa mas madiin pa din si Congressman Saldico, kumbaga parang naambunan ito si Speaker as a result. But again, I'm not saying he's not involved. What I'm saying is it's not going to help the defense of either, whether it's the defense of Congressman Saldico or the defense of former House Speaker. So pareho silang mai-involve yan.
Yeah, so the former House Speaker came up with an official statement maybe an hour or two ago and said this because the sergeant was basically saying that he was delivering money beginning December 2024 and then thereafter three times a week, etc. Something like that, no? At meron kasi silang grupo, so sometimes hindi siya parte ng pagdala ng pera doon po sa Forbes, and then another one even in front of Malacanang. He says this, the former speaker, the most telling flaw is the witnesses claim that deliveries were made to McKinley beginning December 2024. Imposible yan. That property has been under renovation since January 2024 and was unoccupied except for construction workers. And then he says, falsos in uno, falsos in omnibus. False in one thing, false in everything. Mahaba pa po yung kanyang sinabi. So anyway, basically saying it's impossible that testimony of si Sergeant, yung former Marine po, dahil nga sinasabi nagdadala ng pera doon, under construction daw yung kanilang bahay sa Forbes at that time. Just a quick reaction to that, sir.
Alam mo, sa akin ang mas importanteng question doon, bakit nga doon dinadala? Kasi alam mo kasi, if that is under construction, it doesn't mean that no one is going to accept it. Kasi, again, going by the previous testimonies, ang communication pagdating sa delivery doon sa between the ones involved in the delivery, yung driver at saka yung tatanggap. So hindi kailangan merong nakatira doon para may tumanggap.
But does that make sense if you're going to bring 35 luggage or yung 35 maleta sa bahay na nandun ang mga construction workers?
Unang-una, hindi ba nagkaroon nga ng palitan ng mga maleta din sa Phoenix, sa malapit yata sa
the gas station, yeah.
So sa madalit sabi, kahit saan actually pwedeng mangyari yan, Pinky. No? So in other words, the excuse can be a lot better than that. Again, sa akin, the more important question is yung link between the giver and the one who's supposed to receive it.
All right. Political analyst, Professor Edmund Tayao, sir. Pleasure to have you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
That's On Point. Join us again tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. here on BNC, the Billionaire News Channel. I'm Pinky Webb. Thank you for watching.